this virtual India-Bangladesh stakeholders meet. The session right now we are going to be in process. It's a special session on role of transporters and freight forwarders. This is being talked in the utilization of the India-Bangladesh state prospects. So we are joined by Sri Mahbubur Rahman, Director General, Export Promotion Bureau, Ministry of Commerce, Government of Bangladesh. We have been joined from the Federation of Freight Forwarders Association, the Chairman Sri Sankar Sinhe, and also Mr. Sudeep De, Operation Head. Then we are also joined by from the Office of Transport Corporation of India. Dr. Sri Rajkiran Kanagla was supposed to join, but all of the last moment there was some he had to go for some engagement, and so he has been represented by Mr. Devapriya Mukherjee, who's going to represent TC Transport Corporation of India. And finally, we have Sri Amirul Islam Chaudhry Mizan, Senior Vice President, Bangladesh Freight Forwarders Association. So to initiate the discussion, I would request Sri Mahbubur Rahman, Director General, Export Promotion Bureau, the Ministry of Commerce, Government of Bangladesh, to kindly initiate the discussions.
Thank you, Mr. Siddharth Roy. Distinguished eminent panelists, Sri Sudeep De, Vice Chairman, Federation of Freight Forwarders Association of India, Mr. Devapriya Mukherjee, Group Head. He is for the Group Head, Business Development and Head of SAC. I hope he's here. And Mr. Amirul Islam Chaudhry Mizan, Senior Vice President of Bangladesh Freight Forwarders Associations, members of the Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry, particularly the members of the Northeastern region of India, other participants online and offline, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon. I'm given the responsibility of coordinating this session. I may not have much room to say a lot of things, but that's why before giving floor to the panelists, I want to start with you. Say,
I'm sorry to disturb you, sir, Mahbubur Rahman, sir. If you switch off your video,
in this two-day
then your audio will be more clearer, sir. If you switch off your video,
yes,
sir,
yes.
Your audio will be more clearer.
Should be
Sir, WebEx has sometimes the connectivity issues. If you switch off your video and keep only your audio, then we could be able to hear you clearly, sir.
So, the India-Bangladesh stakeholder meet on a virtual platform organized by Indian Chamber of Commerce in association with Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India. This is an extension of the first India-Bangladesh stakeholders meet organized on 22nd and 23rd October 2019 regarding BBIN motor vehicle agreement that provided provision to access to Chittagong and Mongla port of Bangladesh to the signatories countries and of the agreement, including the northeastern part of India. I thank the government of India and the Indian Chamber of Commerce Northeast Regional Office of ICC to extend the meet to further the economic relation between our two friendly nations. This I consider not only a bilateral issue, this is broadly a regional priority as a whole, because the outcome of the meet will definitely benefit India, Bangladesh, and the operationalization of the BBIN MVA will benefit the whole of the South Asian region. Distinguished panelists, ladies and gentlemen, Relation between Bangladesh and India remains at a unique height, and leveraging the existing relation should be the best strategy to sort all impediments to effective bilateral and regional connectivity, which should be conducive to enhance trade, investment, and other economic activities that benefit economies of both of our economies and the region as a whole. You know, South Asia remains the most loosely integrated region, considering the and inter-regional trade. Although SAFTA came into being at the beginning of this century, uh, this type of loose integration is should I say it's a natural development? No. If we consider the uh, density, distance, demand for people in our countries, then it should not be considered natural development. We didn't. That's why this type of loose integration has developed. We see in regional trade is 50% of their trade, domestic trade. The ASEAN trade is higher than that, and the European Union trade is even higher. So we are actually marginalized our opportunity to trade and develop our economies to the tune as the Africans, ASEAN countries, and other developed countries have achieved. But the instruments that were required to be in place were there. We, instance, for ocean, connectivity is important. For such connectivity, we had inland water transport protocol since 1972. The transit agreement we started in 2010. The rail, we have rail connectivity. We have inland, and we have ratified, we have agreed on coastal shipping agreement in 2018. So all the legal provisions are there, but could we reap the benefit of it? Answer is no. Definitely, there are limitations such as poor navigability in some points of our waterways, but there are in particularly in the Bangladesh part. I don't know much about the Indian part, so there may be that can be covered up. There are sufficient roads in both of our parts. Maybe that the quality of roads and capacity of those roads might have some defects, which can also be recovered. And uh, uh, could start and we could advance with the footing that we are having, but those didn't happen. In this reality, the BBIN motor vehicle agreement is seen as a new opportunity for both the transaction of business transactions in our passenger mobility and also the cargo movement and transit to our signatory countries, particularly in the northeastern region of India. And moreover, if you consider the expense of trading among our South Asian area, at a point of time before the independence, Indian independence, I mean, before 1947, the intra-regional trade was even higher than 20%. I have read this from some online online resource some day ago. But the present status is around 5%. This type of result is definitely giving us a direction that we are underplaying the prospect of our bilateral treaties, agreements, and the provisions we are having. I mean, the legal provisions that we are having to enhance our bilateral trade, bilateral and the regional trade, but we failed to do that. Still, the standard that we maintain to trade with another partner out of this South Asian region, we feel more comfortable and we provide better standards to others than our regional partners. But this shouldn't happen, because this all the Southeast Asian countries was at some time one country, so there were potentials, and we are still having potentials for greater integration. We have more of a cultural affinity, more of geographical closeness. The density of this region is higher. The demand pattern is similar. So, and we are all having the similarity in the economic pattern as well. That's why it can be concluded that we had better prospects for integration and integrational trade, integrational transportation, integrational investment in all the and other aspects of economic benefit. But the benefit out of it. To say integration, the connectivity, particularly the transportation connectivity, comes first. Of course, the mindset is important. Mindset of the important, but that is also important. But the connectivity, transportation connectivity, prevails, I think, at the first place. I believe. You see, by virtue of this geographical location, Bangladesh remains at a strategic place to connect India, Nepal, Bhutan, and particularly the northeastern region of India. Connectivity essentially requires strengthening trade transits and improving road and waterway corridors. Bangladesh and northeastern region of India have potentials to build transport and logistic hub, and huge investment opportunities in these sectors are there. And we can definitely work together to strengthen the multimodal connectivity benefits that we are having. I mean, the road, the rail, the waterway, and the air routes also, although air route is expensive. But to start with, we could use the waterways because it came first in the as a protocol to use the common basins of both the countries immediately after the liberation of Bangladesh. But we even in these 50 years, we didn't do much to utilize these waterways. And use of multimodal transport for trade with Assam, Meghalaya, Mizoram, and Tripura have huge potential to use. We in the recent years, Bangladesh has developed some highways into 4 lanes. We have developed some railways, and new projects are there. So once those projects are implemented, we will be in a better position to serve to the transporters to better coordinate and to carry goods and passengers to and from the country. For, for such prospect, a greater integration is required. The integration should be may be done in several ways, as parallel integration, the horizontal integration, and diagonal integration is also required. By diagonal integration, I want to mean it in the integration supported by the use of information technology. If information technology is used in our cross-border trade, then lot of regulatory requirements can be addressed by information technology. As the BBI and motor vehicle agreement has given way to enhance the transit facilities, the cargo from western part of India to its northeastern part have become will be easy once the proposed SOP is finalized. Bangladesh has attained considerable progress in building the required infrastructure in um, all the modes of transport, but there are some bit more are yet to be done, especially in the waterways. The present situation is enabling to enhance our cooperation in transiting goods and passengers from India and other signatory countries through Bangladesh. So, but unfortunately, the provision, I think the container ceiling provision and the customs provision are not there in the motor vehicle agreement. Although it's not supposed to be there, but there should be an alignment of the customs procedure and container ceiling and certification of the cargo should be there, should be in place. Those three things are missing in the agreement. Still, there is time, and this is the right time that we point out those requirements, and we can suggest the authority that these things should be incorporated in the new agreement, because the objective is cooperation and to realize the potential and the potential benefit that both of our economies and the economies of the region as a whole can derive from this new motor vehicle agreement that will serve Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, and India. But this meet is particularly bilateral. This is limited in Bangladesh, India, and this is our priority area, because at present Bangladesh's trade with India, our total bilateral trade, including import and export, is above more than $10 billion. This amount can be brought at a higher level, both from Bangladesh part and both and from Indian part, and the goods and services that from India can reach the northeastern part very easily once this agreement comes into force, and even with the support of the other regulatory, other uh, agreements and conventions and protocols, we can have a better benefit than what we are deriving now. So we should be in a mindset and with a hope and preparation that we should cooperate more for the sake of the economic benefit of Bangladesh, of India, and particularly the northeastern part of India, the Seven Sisters, we call them. It can be a very good source, and it can be a very notable source of their products to other parts, to Bangladesh, and Bangladesh may be a good source of the products that have that have it's their requirement in the northeastern part of India. So these all these require the cooperation uh, that is not there. So cooperation is the only thing that can enhance the trade and connectivity among uh, between Bangladesh and India, and that is I think the objective of uh, today's meet, and I hope the participants will rightly identify uh, the gaps that are required to fill, and we can come up with a recommendation that okay, these are the things that we need to address right now to materialize the benefit of the protocols and the agreements and the political cloud that we are having um, among between the two friendly countries. With this, I want to conclude for the time being, and I want to uh, the main panelists who will basically give us good ideas uh, about the uh, about the role of transport and freight forwarding in the utilization of India Bangladesh state prospects. So I think this is the time to uh, give the floor to Mr. Dev Mukherjee, huh? Or
Sir, I'll
Sudip Dev.
sir, I'll initiate it if you don't mind, sir. If I'll initiate it according to agenda, sir.
Okay. As I see in the papers,
Yes.
you can please lead the session.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I'm concluding right now. If time comes, then I may take the floor.
Sir,
Okay.
we'll request you to give a conclusive remark after all the deliveries of all the panelists, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Sri Mahbubur Rahman, sir. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Sankar Shinde, Chairman, Federation of Freight Forwarders Association in India, to kindly deliver to the audience his presentation. Thank you, sir. I think he will be also, there will also be Mr. Sudeep Dey,
Yeah.
who would be supporting him.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
sir. It was nice to hear the theme for the webinar. In fact, Triple FA has been involved on these routes, rather the various routes with regard to India connectivity. One was the most important is the INSTC, International North-South Transport Corridor, identifying the bottlenecks of the connectivity through sea, land, sea. The special project was also carried. And second thing, we were also been involved with the BBIN projects, giving the inputs and feedbacks. But this webinar relating to special connectivity with the Bangladesh and India, the Petrapol-Benapol border connectivity. We thought we will also invite Mr. Sudip Dev, who is with me, our FFA Vice Chairman, who will enlighten us with regard to practical aspect of operational issues or how we can take further with development of this route. But what we identify on this route is one, the infrastructure, the connectivity in the IT sector, is the online facilitation measures, and the third, which is we find that the traffic control at this border. In traffic control in the sense, there is always a congestion which is being noted, which becomes this unreliable route for the regular shipments. So this is one major problem which has been identified, and with Mr. Sajid Day over here, we give out the in detail presentation or the detailed report and how this can be addressed also. With this, I would request my colleague Mr. Sudip Day to please take it further. and I will be there for the webinar. For this, I wish all the best for this webinar. Thank you. Have Mr. Sudhir to vote please.
Yes, thank you, Chairman, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, ICC, for organizing such webinars. I mean, as as Mr. Raman said, that our relation between India and Bangladesh is at its peak now. So the only way to go forward is to have interactive sessions like this, where we can give inputs from each other's side. And Bangladesh, yes, it is a very it has been a partner of India ever since, and a huge quantum of exports is going to Bangladesh. But if we really want to actually develop it, make it smooth, and at the end of the day, bring down the cost, there is, as Mr. Mahabur Raman said, that the outlook has to change. The mentality has to change. All the issues we have on paper are absolutely okay. In theory, we are really okay, and we do not need to immediately improve anything further. What we need is the ground level situation where the actual people are working at the ground level. Their mentality has to change. The mentality of the administrators of the law has to change. The infrastructure has to improve, and then there are the certain policy decisions which the government has to take. Number one, when I talk about mentality has to change, what I really want to say is that whenever we talk about India-Bangladesh trade, only one thing comes to our mind. That is the Petropol border. Nothing else. So this mentality has to change. We have river routes, we have sea routes, we have other LCS, and we have, of course, the Petropol border. But everyone seems to be wanting to export through this only one border. And I do not know, but till few days back, the waiting time was 35 to 40 days. And you can well imagine a truck which has left Ludhiana, and by the time it reaches West Bengal, the border, and it waits, and then it goes to the other side, unloads, and comes back, it is seen that most of his documents has expired. Sometimes we have seen cases where the document of the truck has expired. We have cases where the driver's license has expired. So all these things, because there's no time guarantee. So this mentality of only going through the Petropol border, this has to change. We have to look at other avenues. We have the sea route. We have the inland waterway route, not only to the northeast, but directly to Bangladesh itself. So once this mentality changes, we can explore other lines of export, and then the cost comes down, the congestion comes down. Number one. Number two, what we are talking about is the mentality of the people at the ground level. What we have seen in the recent past, that the ICP on the Indian side of the border, all of a sudden, they became very strict. They want to check each and every paper of the people who are entering the ICP, and each and every paper of the trucks that are entering the ICP. And no one can say that they are unjustified. No one can. None of us can say, no, you do not check our papers. We will go in as we go in. No. And we cannot, from the Federation or any association, we cannot support such a thing. But our issue is that when a government organization becomes lenient over so many years, and all of a sudden try to be strict and you try to implement which you have not implemented over so many years, there is a trade disturbance. And trade disturbance for 3, 4, 5 days would result in a huge backlog. And at the end of the day, it only adds up to pound, shilling, and pence. So I remember one of our very senior officer had in one of our convention had said that if you want to implement anything new, all of a sudden, it has to be done with consultation and prior intimation. So as far as I am concerned, this implementation of anything new at any level, any sphere, any government, anywhere, anything new has to be implemented with prior intimation and proper consultation. This has to be a policy factor. You have to get into this. Similarly, till yesterday, only yesterday, I think the border opened. There was similar kind of a strike on the Bangladesh border, on the Bangladesh side, I mean. Why? I do not want to deliberate on that. But the fact is that it closed the border for so many days. And then again, there's a backlog, 30, 35, 40, 45 days, which again adds up to cost. So these things have to be monitored very closely. The people at the ground level has to change their mentality. They should know the importance of this border and the importance of the trade that is going on between India and Bangladesh. Number 2. Number 3, infrastructure. When we talk about the infrastructure, there has to be infrastructure development on both sides. We have to be very clear on that. On the India side, if we talk about a Petropol ICP, ICP is supposed to be a place where you're supposed to have the state-of-the-art infrastructure and everything should be under one roof. But if you actually look at the ICP side here, we are not geared up for such a kind of a state of the infrastructure. Similarly, on the Bangladesh side, if we are talking about a border, on the other side of the border, we talk about a go down, and there's a lack of go down space on the other side. We all know it. So the waiting time of the trucks on the other side is also high because there's not enough go down space. I have traveled from Bangladesh to India by bus, and I've seen chases on the road, on the other side of the roadside, lines totally uncovered, and this is the situation. Not only that, over the years, all these godowns of these importers have been built around that area, so they prefer the cargo to come to that area, and they don't want to reach out to other places which maybe is near Dhaka or to any of the seaports. So you have to build infrastructure on that side also. So all these both sides, the infrastructure development is necessary, and not only development, but development in a planned manner. And development not only in a planned manner, but before executing that plan, you should have a proper consultation and proper intimation with the actual stakeholders or who are working on the ground level. Tell me, sir, Raman sir said we have so many agreements. We have done so much with the agreements. But at the end of the day, are we actually benefiting for these agreements? Can I, with a truck, start from Ludhiana, cross the Bengal, go into Bangladesh, and then again come back, going to Bangladesh as deep as Dhaka, and really come back without any issues? Have we, at the basic level, have we developed our drivers who can read the Bengali sign language which are present at Bangladesh, the traffic signs? Have we developed our drivers in that manner? No, we have not. So all these things have to be taken into account before we actually get a smooth trade and a cost-effective trade. Then again, we talk about using waterways. Waterways are supposed to be cheaper. But the reality is when we take cargo into Bangladesh, there's not enough cargo back from Bangladesh. So obviously the freight is double. So we also have to think that how Bangladesh can export cargo not only to India, but maybe through India to other foreign countries. So at least these barges who use the waterway can come back into India with a lot of export cargo. So the freight is reduced to have. I think now the freight by sea, I think they're charging about $1,500 from Kolkata port to maybe ICT Pangaon or Chittagong. So which is actually very high. So people sometimes they prefer to wait 35, 40 days at the border and send by trucks. So all these have to be diligently worked out. Besides that, I can only say that if you talk about the manpower at the ground level, the manpower has to be educated. The the transferring of the cargo from the vehicle to the godowns, from the godowns to the vehicle has to be mechanized, has to be smooth, and then only we can talk about. And then again, there's the issue is we must sit and decide as to how many trucks per day through that border we can take. Both sides should sit. Our holidays should match each other. We still talk about holidays, but we should be operating at least 24/7. The border working 24/7 is very important. And I know officially we are working 24/7, but at the borders, we still have people who do not want to work 24/7, and there is hindrance at the border. So I mean, through the time of the discussion, maybe a lot more points would come out, but I would end now, stop here now, and I would like to hear feedbacks from others also.
Thank you,
Sirs?
sir. Thank you very much for your in-depth analysis of the situation and your delivery regarding the same. We would now like to request Sri Amirul Islam Chaudhary Mizan, Senior Vice President, Bangladesh Freight Forwarders Association, kindly address the gathering. Sir.
Thank you, Mr. Siddharth. Thank you for Mr. Sinde and Mr. Sudeep Day and Mr. Mahabur Rahman's, opening thing. I had been to Guwahati 2 times on the invitation of ICC and the Indian government. So I was interacting with many of the importers and exporters down here. Apparently, Mr. Subdeep Dev was focusing more only Western India to Bangladesh export. But actually, whole meat is, I believe, designed for Northeast India, Bhutan, Nepal combined, and Bangladesh. So, can we, focus our address to purely Northeast India and Bhutan, Nepal, and Bangladesh? So, what I see, Northeast India mostly is agrarian, production based, economic based, and whereas they need a lot of industrial product, and many of which can Bangladesh, promote. So I would like to address to Mr. Mahbub Rahman, Chairman, Vice Chairman of Export Promotion Bureau, whether we can take delegations to the Northeast Indian states. What are their requirements? Simultaneously, from Northeast Indian states, I would appreciate their chambers to lead delegates here, exporters from there, what they can market here. So both at the exchange, there is a saying, necessity is the mother of invention. So we know both each other's necessity, eventually other things, because protocols has been signed, so, and some, eventually this to implement it, ultimately there has to be cargo. So between Northeast India and Bangladesh, not much of movement. So there are some, I think, from both sides, both India and Bangladesh, tariff and parative barriers. So those are also impediments for promoting export to Northeastern India from Bangladesh. Some to say possibly Bangladesh may also have, I don't know. Particularly since Bangladesh imports almost each and every product, every merchandise, agri products or whatever, everything they import. So, and we are like vegetables, you see, I mean, spices, rice, whatnot. So Northeast India can support with all these things. So if we had exchanges, or interaction and communication between exporters of India to our of importers of Bangladesh and simultaneously exporter of Bangladesh to importers of India, that could help the promote when there is a the trade scope is there. Eventually, both government will come up with building of infrastructure, both road, rail, river, everything can be built up. So protocols, initial protocols has been signed between Bangladesh and Indian governments, but whether we are promoting, whether actual goods are moving or not, that's the scene. As Mr. Sudipdev was saying, Ludhiana to Petropol. So why many of the products could be moved from Assam to Tripura, Meghalaya, and all these not seven not sister states. This could be this could feed Bangladesh like many products. Like I was talking to one, ginger exporter from India, and I was talking to importers here, to facilitate, and so the deal couldn't fail through because of lack of understanding and because of in the intervening period this pandemic thing has arrived. The imports here where we were planning to visit Guwahati and other places, go there, talk to them. There are like onion, there are ginger, then pepper, then chili, many other products, agro products. I mean, so simultaneously India also need cement and many other products in seven sister states. When these buy sell orders are there, eventually facilitation comes forward. So that we are not seeing. So I would request Mr. Mahbub in particular to lead a delegation from Bangladesh who are willing to export to northeastern states from here, and eventually and from Indian ICC and other chambers there to organize meets with all these exporters here and also importers from there. So that could uh, help develop the things. And again, Mr. Sudip Dev was telling about infrastructure, and Mauro was saying we have. I believe last I met, with the logistics Secretary Logistics Division of India, rather the river draft is particularly India is more problematic than Bangladesh. Bangladesh, I think, can cater, barges and coast 3.5 meter to 4 meter, whereas India cannot, operate more than 2 meter. So India is possibly has undertaken a big dredging program under central government funding amongst these areas. Then again, railway through Singh there was Guwahati, there was connectivity. In Agartala, there was connectivity. Those has been cut down. So there are, I think, Tamabil from Sylhet side, from Bangladesh side, and then Ramgarh in Chittagong, then again Bilonia in Feni, Singh, Akhauda, all these areas also custom point, but it's not appropriately equipped to cater to this, facilitate transportation or moving of goods, and also the lack of testing labs. Some products needs testing requirements. So the border outpost that's testing lab, and though geographically, particularly this northeast India and Bangladesh is very ideally located to develop trade. Well, pre-partition, pre-47 era, there was a lot of trade used to move between these areas, but now it has stopped. Well, after Pakistan, then again Bangladesh has having such a good relation with India, current government, but development is not as such. Why? That we have to look into it. Maybe maybe both IC request ICC as well as from Bangladesh side also APB or whoever to undertake a study why the trade is not being developed between these areas. So this you have to look into. And then road, particularly road infrastructure, our roads are very poorly built. So that is one of the, cross movement, BVI and all this motor vehicle agreement, although they are, but Indian trucks, if it operates in 3 months, our road will be totally, inoperable. No trucks can move at all. So our roads in building also needs to be, very good, because I think, I don't know how it can be done. That is a different chapter. So because Indian trucks load say 20, 25, 30 tons, our roads are not equipped to carry those kind of load. So whereas maybe India is better position. Our roads has to be built better. River navigability, any river connecting area, there has to be border outpost, custom outpost, and then railway could be one, road be one. From all this, what we see, there are prospects, but firstly, it has to be between the importers and exporters of India and Bangladesh, particularly this Northeast India and Bangladesh traders. So that could help develop the trade, I believe. And there are potential is immense, but again, Mr. Sudeep has a bit articulated properly. There are, the mindset is also one part. So to change the mindset, if there are economy, if businessman, we as business, we look for opportunities. We can make money. We'll go anywhere to any land. So we have to the communication between business houses in Northeast India and Bangladesh is more important. So once again, I would request Mr. Mahbub Rahman to think about to take a delegation of exporters and importers to India, particularly Guwahati, Tripura, and other places, so that when there are interactions there, they make deals. Then eventually they will think the option to how to carry. Then the government will see that there are opportunities. Government can earn revenue, so government will also. Government is the facilitator. To facilitate, government we needs to know that there are scope of revenues. So that is also important. So with this, I would like to conclude my moment's discussion. Thank you. I would like to hear from others. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your deliberation, sir. I'd like to inform to you that actually post the first India-Bangladesh stakeholders meet 2019, we were planning to take a delegation to Sylhet, Dhaka, and it was really planned, but because of the pandemic, we could not take it. Right now, we are in discussion with the Act East Policy Affairs Department of Government of Assam, and we'll soon take a delegation to Sylhet, Dhaka, Chittagong, and we will improve the trade relations between the two regions. Thank you for your advices, sir. Now, I would like to request Mr. Devopriya Mukherjee, who is representing Transport Corporation of India, to kindly offer his presentation.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you to all the panelists for giving their view on the subject. And also thank you, ICC, for organizing this event. And I have few slides which I would like to present, which will give a holistic view of what is the requirement and what are the improvement areas. So I would like to share the presentation. This is just a 2-slide presentation which will cover all the major points. Yeah, so I hope the screen is visible to all.
Yes, yes, it is.
Yeah. So Mr. Rajkiran was about to present this presentation, but due to some emergency, he could not. So on his behalf, I would like to present this. So overall, what are the prospective, what positive aspects which we are seeing? So as other speakers have said, we have a situation where we are seeing the bilateral trade at its peak. We have a $10 billion plus business going on between India and Bangladesh. So over the last few years, these are the positives which we would like to present to all. Rail service through Benapole, Petrapole was not there. It has started. It started with the automobile rakes, which was the NMGs, and currently every month there are at least uh, 25 to 30, to say the least, trains are moving from India to Bangladesh. So that has been a very positive thing which has happened. Container services through rail, it has also developed. But again, when we look about the business between India and Bangladesh, all eyes goes to Benapole border. So such is the scenario. This service also has started through the same route. And now we have around 6 to 8 container trains, which are now plying between India and Bangladesh. These are the positive movements which have happened in terms of train. Now coming to the sea or the inland waterways operations, we have seen an increase in barge operations as well. So earlier, the number of barges which was plying were less, but now we are seeing around 500 plus barges are there, which are means 500 plus trips are going on. So that kind of volume is there, and after that as well, we are seeing a congestion in the borders in at land. So there is huge opportunity in this area to develop, and trade support will be definitely developed once we increase these operations in terms of trains and barges. So, what are the things we need to do is like when we talk about integrated check post between India and Bangladesh. So, how this IT integration can be further developed so that the clearance, say, happens in any of the ICD in India, can freely pass on to Bangladesh, and the technologies can be used for that, and government has to allow those kind of movements also. Where say I clear a cargo and any of the ICD across India, and I directly export to Bangladesh without waiting. So there were some provisions, but uh, currently it is very negligible which is happening. So this is also another area, but these are also developing. So these are the positive aspects which will also grow in future, which we see. Now, coming to the aspects which we can improve in, so we need more warehouses. We need warehouses from the both sides, India side and Bangladesh side. So when we say warehouses, we need warehouses for chemicals, for other general cargo as well. So today, if I want to export, say through any other border, which is not Benapole, Petrapole border, does that border has sufficient infrastructure to manage the cargo, which is not currently the answer is no. So we have to develop. This is the area which we have to improve in, so that other borders also can develop. Now, India Bangladesh has around 150 plus borders. Now, what we export is through Benapole, through Mumra Gojadanga, Hilli. So these are the few borders which has the maximum cargo, and Benapole being the highest in terms of the traffic. So other borders, once we develop, we have to develop the warehouses also in both the sides. So in warehouse, when we speak, we have to also develop a lot of cold storage capabilities. From India to Bangladesh, when we export, there is a lot of fish and other products, food which are perishable are there. So this is an area which we have to improve upon. So we have to make policies around it, how we can have integrated facility at customs, where we have warehouses and cold storage facilities as well. Third is the bonded warehouse. When we talk about bulk movements from India to Bangladesh, so we have to have more bonded warehouse in all the areas. So today we are talking about Northeast connectivity. So when, as Mr. Amirul explained, Northeast states have agricultural produce which can be exported from Northeast to Bangladesh. For that, we will need those facilities. We will need cold storages. We will need bonded warehouses. So this kind of infrastructure we have to develop, and these are the improvement areas we feel. Number four is bulk items, as I already explained in previous point. So how we develop that, and once we develop that, we will definitely reduce the border congestion which we are seeing now in one or two ports. And lastly, to develop all these services, what support we need is we have to develop the SRO. We have to get the SRO implemented. Earlier also, when we tried for other borders to be developed, the only block which we faced is that the SRO doesn't allow all kinds of cargo. So when we talk about a border which is near Siliguri and I want to export some value-added cargo, but that border will not have the facilities. It will not have the product listed in the SRO of Bangladesh. So this is to be also developed. So if Mr. Uh, Mahbub Rahman, if from Export Promotion Board can take it up, we can have the SRO also developed so that other borders open up and we improve upon the bilateral trade. So this is the short presentation from our side, and thank you. Over to other panelists.
Thank you, Mr. Mukherjee. Thank you for your detailed presentation. I would now request Sri Mahbubur Rahman, sir, to kindly provide a conclusive remark regarding this session, sir.
Thank you very much. Thanks to Mr. Sudip Dey, Mr. Amirul Islam, and Mr. Depopriyo Mukherjee. I'm sorry that I didn't address Sri. Actually, what we use usually. Yes, I was listening to all the panelists very carefully, and I try to realize what are happening and what are to be done. Actually, Mr. Sudip Dey, he was talking about the other facilities and the regulatory requirements, etc. I mean, the aspects that are other than the transport and forwarding. This is actually important for our existing trade practice. Whenever we talk about cross-border trade between Bangladesh and India, we talk about Petrapol and Benapol. But for instance, for quartzite or for feldspar, is Benapol Petrapol route appropriate for importation or exportation? I'll say no. There are a lot of other products there, like even the perishable items. Bangladeshi exporters don't prefer Benapol Petrapol route for the export, although they don't have warehousing facilities. What they think is that even though the mode of transport and the mode of export is truck-to-truck delivery, but still some of the exporters, they prefer Bhomra Gujaranga route for exportation of Hilsa fish or similar perishable items. Think about Hilly port. It can handle some commercial goods only. For other areas like Burimari, Shona Masjid, these ports, I mean, port facilities have been created in Bangladesh side, but on the other side, as far as I have heard, other side is not equipped with that type of facilities. Even in Petrapol, the export truck stand has the capacity of 800, but the import area has only 100. So mismatch is everywhere in all the in most of the 36 operating LC stations and ICPs. I think there are 2 ICPs and others LCS stations. So to build these infrastructures, I didn't find an approach of cooperation. I mean, what are the historical record of import and export through these areas, these ports? What are the requirements for handling these type of goods through this port, and what infrastructure is required here is not studied. there comes the question of cooperation. I mean, both sides should sit together and gauge the requirement, what type of infrastructure we need to build here and what not here. What are the propensity of the goods? What are the what are the major import items and export items through, and what are the potential items? Then the appropriate infrastructure can be made. For instance, Mr. Sudipda said about the cold storage facility. Cold storage facility. And all the three speakers mentioned about the cold storage facility. At no port of our bilateral trade, we have no cold storage facility at least at the station. I mean, the refrigerated containers don't move through these two countries, although potentials are there. But that may come at the secondary stage. But other requirements, SPS, I mean, century, phytosanitary, quarantine, testing laboratory, and there are some other requirements. This should have, this should be addressed prior to establishing cold storage, because cold storage, I mean, handling a reefer van, refrigerated container, is much more costlier than those things. The mutual acceptance of certification is a lengthy agenda. I have heard many years, but that is not addressed so far. And the mutual establishment of required facility is not there. So those are the things. And whenever we talk about our bilateral trade, we talk only Petrapol and Benapol. Other stations are not even given much importance, and the prospect of those stations are considered by both of our governments. So there comes the question of non-cooperative or unilateral move for development. This will not work. I think here to address one station, first thing I want to say that we need to develop all the 36 health stations. Although we have declared ports more than 200, but we need to develop the operational ones, which are these 36 health stations and ICPs. And appropriate infrastructure should be built in the areas. There are congestions at Petrapol that needs to address. There should be 2 lanes or 4 lanes for vehicles to come and go. In other stations like Hilly, there are congestions because those in the Indian part, both in Bangladesh and Indian part, there are congestions. The roads are narrow. So these things need to be addressed on a priority basis. And the border timing is another important thing. For instance, if one country starts business at 6 o'clock and Bangladesh has its official time from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock at night, so the timing doesn't match. I mean, the 6 hours are wasted. And at some places, there are not appropriate officials who can decide on clearance of the import cargoes. Exportation is far easier a business than import, because imports require a lot of certification, a lot of things. So a custom office with appropriate manpower is required at or near all health stations. If I respond to Mr. Amir Islam, he advised me to mount a delegation to northeastern region of India. Yes, that is there in our calendar, but unfortunately, for pandemic over last 2 years, we couldn't move physically due to transport restriction or communication restriction. We hold even this meeting we are holding on a virtual forum. But we have our program. We are communicating through our mission at Guwahati, and now that we have got some means of communication with the Indian Chamber of Commerce Northeastern Office, we will definitely talk with them, and also through the Assistant High Commissioner Office, Mission Office, to mount a business delegation to the Northeastern region this year. It's there in our program, but we couldn't so far finalize the program, but we will. For your kind consumption, Mr. Amirul Islam Chaudhuri, I can tell you that we are actively considering that. Regarding Mr. Debapriyo Mukherjee's presentation, I think he added two more points than Mr. Sudip there, which are bonded warehouse facility and the SRO, develop the SRO in need. I mean, the sensitive list should be revised. Yes. Actually, the sensitive list SRO is framed in a way to match the capacity of the LC station. In the Bangladesh part, there are some stations which are manned by assistant commissioners. Actually, as far my knowledge goes, most all about 30 LC stations, except Benapul. Benapul has a commissioner, and most of other LC stations are headed by an assistant commissioner who is capable by law of discharging any customs consignment. I mean, giving a decision regarding clearance of any consignment. But I think, as my knowledge goes, at the opposite side, the office is not at par of Bangladesh. So and testing facility, yes, that is absent in most of the so those are non-tariff and non-transportational bottlenecks that are, although I'm as a government servant, I shouldn't pronounce the word barrier, but those are the things that need to address immediately. And again, bonded warehouse, actually for a multimodal mode of transportation, a bonded warehouse is required. In Bangladesh part, all the LC stations that are having a warehouse facility are bonded. Those are declared as bonded godowns. So by law and by definition, those are declared as bonded godowns. I don't know the situation at the other part, but declaring a warehouse as bonded godown, that actually has some conditions in Bangladeshi law. So that should be, I mean, a sizable trade should be there to maintain such an establishment as fit to establish bonded godowns at the outposts, border outposts, LC stations. So that is if a particular LC station develops in a way that it requires a bonded godown, that definitely government will think there in that way, and I will convey this message of you to the National Board of Revenue so that they consider establishing more bonded warehouses at the LC stations. So I hope I have addressed some of the questions and queries of the three contributors, three eminent panelists. I want to add a few points. I see Mr. Sudip Dey. Do you want to say something? Do you have additional questions to make?
Not really, but
Anyway,
just a piece of information. Just a piece of information
yes.
that recently our shipping minister flagged off a vessel from Haldia of Calcutta port to Pandu of Assam, northeast, through the Bangladesh border, and it and as of today, it has still not reached the destination. And what we gather is that somewhere near the border of Bangladesh and northeast India, it is stuck due to low what do you call that, depth of the water.
Navigability, low
Ah,
navigability or fluviality, yes. Maybe.
Yes,
So,
because we at least need 2.2 meters draft, and it was found it was less than 2 meters, and so because of the draft problem, it is stuck there, and they are having to tug it through. So unless all these things are actually looked into properly and guaranteed is given by both governments. I'm not talking about Bangladesh only, but Indian government and the Bangladesh government. Then none of the operators would want to work. This operator who's operating this barge is furious. He's furious, and see, someone has to start it, and someone has to go through the hard times when they started. But these things actually are drawing us back. Just wanted to share this with the house.
yes, thank you. Actually, this is the point I was trying to pursue whole of my presentation. What I said is that cooperation is not there in our transaction of business. Actually, our ship, our barge is set to destined to Bangladesh, but the draft capacity is not there. I mean, there is no survey, there is no, I mean, remedial action, or the study that was required to be done before sailing the ship was not done. So those are the points that should be raised. I mean, at a proper forum. I mean, at a bilateral forum. That these are the areas that we need to work together. That is actually a requirement to enhance the trade through our institutions and also through our waterways, inland waterways. And some more points I wanted to share, that the mutual recognition of certification and an introduction of containerized cargo is of high importance, because you cannot afford to send loose cargo through waterways by small vessels. Those should be containerized. Now, for container movement, the stations, the inland customs stations should be equipped. Those need to be done through consultation. You see, since 1972, the riverine route was used only to send cargo to Narayanganj port and to Chokiganj. I mean, the cargo with coal, particularly from that part to Chokiganj or vice versa. this type of goods were plying through using this naval route. But if both the governments agree that there should be trading practice and cargo movement should start, then before starting, the navigability should be checked, and if tracing is required, then that should be done prior to sailing a ship. So these things are not done. So cooperation gap is there. So I think there should be surveys, there should be studies, and mutual sittings for deciding what to do at what ports and stations, and then both the governments should uh, take note of all this and do appropriately. In some cases, there should be mutual cooperation of even financing. So those should be done to enhance the trade between the two countries. So I think up to this point, I have just some of the points, and thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So I'd like to inform that whatever discussions have happened today has been recorded, and this will be documented officially by Indian Chamber of Commerce and would be delivered to the requisite authorities of both the government. We are also live streaming on YouTube, so there are many participants from the YouTube also. So we come to the end of this technical session. Now I'd like to offer my vote of thanks to Sri Mahbubur Rahman, Director General, Export Promotion Bureau, Minister of Commerce, Government of Bangladesh. We'd like to offer our gratitude to Sri Shankar Sinha, Chairman, Federation of Freight Forwarders Association of India. We'd also like to thank Sri Sudeep De, Vice Chairman, Federation of Freight Forwarders Association in India. I'd like to thank Sri Amirul Islam Chaudhry Mizan, Senior Vice President, Bangladesh Freight Forwarders Association, for his deliberation. And
I
finally, I'd
think
like to
Mr.
thank.
I think Mr. Chaudhary wanted to say something. He raised his hand.
Oh, sir,
Yeah,
please.
I did. Thank you. Thank you for,
If the moderator allows you, I'm not
Yes, yes, yes.
actually.
I'm sorry, sir. I did not. I'm sorry. Please kindly.
Okay, Mr. Siddharth, if you allow him to, Mr.
Surely, sir.
Rahman,
Surely,
please,
sir. We have enough time. Surely.
thank
please
you.
make your
I
point.
was taking cue from Mr. Ramas, DGA Export Promotion Bureau. Actually, at this juncture, uh, I have my reservation or my doubts whether container from movement from India, particularly by road, will be difficult. Other than some river, some to Panaga, some ships are moving. I have a question to Mr. Sudeep there. Where your barge got stuck? I'm not clear because so far I know Bangladesh rivers navigability much better than India because the ships are coming with up to Panagaon. Why it is getting stuck? I'm not clear. Although I have no knowledge about those areas, our I think Inland Waterways Corporation or Inland, they are the people who gives the draft chart for all rivers. Whether they have the proper study, particularly those operators has seen those or not. Without seeing, they are running the show like in Haldia, Kolkata, vessels are piloted from inside from the sea. Similarly, of course, for this river movement, the pilot is not necessary, I believe, provided the right draft chart is used. Well, the bigger ships can come with full container load 100, 150, 200 container loads up to Panagaon. Why it cannot pass through? Birds cannot pass through. Was it too heavy to, with heavy, the draft barge is heavy, more than the 3.5 meters or something. Because you're saying with 2.5 meters also couldn't go across. That is sort of is, I was wondering. It was shock to me.
Sir, I cannot tell you the exact place, but I can surely find out from the barge operators because they are in close touch with the port authorities, and I can always let ICC know and the chamber know where exactly it got stuck. You have to give me 1 hour's time.
It's okay. It's no, just I was just this is my curiosity because bigger ships and are coming through. Why the simple barge couldn't do
Here
now?
we were talking about inland waterways, sir.
Inland water.
waterway, not
Through
the
inland waterway,
sea.
these ships with container load coming up to Panagaon. So why a barge of 2.5 meter draft couldn't come?
Yes.
Because our river navigability is draft level is between 3.5 meter to 4 meter. So 2.5 meter draft barge cannot move. That is a shock to me. That's what I was saying.
That may be the master mariner's unknowing, doesn't know the route. Maybe it may be a cause. Anyway, I think Mr. Siddharth Rai may go and conclude the session. We have talked
Yes.
too
So
much.
I would like to conclude the session. Thank you all the panelists, sir. I would like to thank Mahbubur Rahman, sir, Director General, Export Promotion Bureau, Ministry of Commerce, Government of Bangladesh. I would like to thank Shankar Shinde, sir, Chairman, Federation of Freight Forward Association in India. I would also like to thank Sri Sudeep Dey, Vice Chairman, Federation of Freight Forward Association in India. I'd like to thank Sri Amirul Islam Chaudhary Mizan, Senior Vice President, Bangladesh Freight Forward Association. And finally, I'd like to thank Sri Devopriya Mukherjee for his deliberations from Transport Corporation of India. So again, I would like to reiterate that whatever discussions have happened, this is recorded and this should be documented. And finally, a white paper will be prepared and will be sent to the respective departments, relevant departments of each of the country. So we hope to engage in such kind of interactions in the future also. Thank you so much to all the panelists and all the debaters who are there and all the participants on YouTube also. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Siddharth Rai, and bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very
Thank
much
you, everyone.
for everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, bye.